A day of defiance in Hong Kong. Protesters set fires in the streets and battled riot police. In the latest fit of street violence, on the 13th straight weekend of pro-democracy demonstrations. In spite of official warnings, thousands of Hong Kongers marched on Saturday, which is also the day Beijing announced a plan for limited democracy in their city 5 years ago. China's decision against fully democratic elections in the former British colony drew battle lines with democracy advocates that summer. It gave Beijing final say on who becomes the city's leader, setting off months of sit-in-street protests in 2014, known as the Umbrella Movement. On this, the 5th anniversary of that August 31st decision, many in Hong Kong are still demanding more political freedoms. Demonstrators seized on the anniversary for what they hoped would be a huge march, and it was, even though police didn't approve it. Hong Kong authorities declined to grant the protesters a permit for the march, but people protested in other ways. They made a wall out of barricades and set it on fire, sending plumes of heavy smoke streaking the night sky above them. Earlier, the marchers clashed with police outside government offices and the city's legislature and built makeshift barriers across roads. Much of the city's downtown was brought to a standstill. Officers responded with eruptions of fire and water, using tear gas and blue-dyed water fired from a water cannon to clear the crowds. By nightfall, and as 2 government helicopters hovered above, there was still no sign of peace. The protests were set off in early June over a bill that would have allowed extraditions to mainland China. The bill has been shelved but not thrown out like advocates want, because they fear Beijing will use it to silence political dissidents, putting the future of Hong Kong's autonomy at risk. Since then, the demands of protesters have evolved to include concessions that are not so different from their demands 5 years ago. At the heart of the movement is still a push for greater democracy. Chinese officials and the Hong Kong officials that answer to them have ruled out making concessions to the demonstrators and instead have stepped up arrests. On Friday, some of the most prominent pro-democracy lawmakers and activists in the city were arrested in a warning that no more defiance will be tolerated.